Today, India is the fifth largest economy, and India will be the third largest economy soon.
Now, the IMF has also predicted that India could beat Germany to the fourth place by the year 2027.
In recent years, India has been trying to compete with Chinese economy by constructing better infrastructure, better logistic, better businesses in various other ways. But every time we discuss that India is competing with China, we often missed out the crucial details and barely discuss the actual ground realities and mostly talk about the masala news and discuss the things which are not important at all.
चीन और भारत दुनिया के दो सबसे अधिक आबादी वाले देश हैं।
इस साल जून के अंत तक भारत दुनिया में सबसे ज्यादा आबादी वाला देश बन जाएगा।
And to make you understand what I'm talking about, how many times you have watched the news that talks about infrastructure development, logistic development, and what are the actual steps that India should take or India is taking to compete with China. But I'm sure that you must have heard the news that talks about unnecessary and not relevant things to the country's development. There are various factors that has big impact on country's development, and one of them is the infrastructure of the country, which we will going to discuss in this episode. Infrastructure is an important aspect for the economic development of the country, and a country cannot achieve rapid economic growth unless it has appropriate infrastructure. Though India has the second largest road network, and this road network transports 64% of all goods in the country, and 90% of total passengers travel by the road. That's why road projects or road infrastructure play a significant role in country's development. And you'll be shocked to know that earlier Indian infrastructure development struggled with the problem of unplanned urbanization and that growth. To address this unplanned development in recent years, the Indian government has taken the significant steps to speed up the reliable national infrastructure growth, especially in the power and the transportation. After the COVID-19 pandemic, the government has increased the infrastructure budget by 75%, and in just one decade from 2013 to 2023, the percentage of total budget allocation to the infrastructure had surged from 13% to 22%. And these infrastructure projects not only making the crazy difference to India by making connectivity better and faster, but also these developments are important for the Indian Army, especially connecting Jammu Kashmir with Ladakh.
An engineering marvel 11,575 feet up in the Himalayas, enabling all-weather connectivity on the Srinagar-Kargil-Leh National Highway.
India has launched new infrastructure projects along the border. And what is the cost of these projects? More than $300 million. This is strategic investment. India needs better infra at the border to deal with the threat that China poses.
PMO, which has asked ministries to complete pending infrastructure projects, and they need to do this by January 2024.
This signifies a clear shift in priorities as the government directs more resources toward creating a solid foundation for the future growth. So, in this case study, we will dig deep and try to understand 1. What was wrong with India's previous road infrastructure that need to be corrected? 2. Why are these infrastructure projects important to India? 3. What is India doing to fix these problems? And 4th, how are they helping in growth of our country? India's infrastructure development is facing serious concerns, and despite efforts by various governments, there are still a number of problems that need to be resolved. But if you look at the Chinese infrastructure, China's highway has tripled from around 50,000 kilometers in 2000 to around 160,000 kilometers by the end of 2020. This means in just 2 decades, China has added the highways that are 20% longer than the entire US interstate highway system and more than 40% of all the roads in our country. Over the same period of time, India has also tripled the number of its highways, but India's road network is much less impressive. They are low quality, narrow, and less maintained, and only make up a very small part of total road network in our country. But if you look at the Chinese massive road building projects, they are immediately visible to the visitors. Not only that, Chinese government is planning to increase their highways network by around 50% till 2035. But at the same time, India's road infrastructure looks better on the paper. However, the quality of Indian road infrastructure is very poor. And to make you understand how poor this is, Only 3% of these roads are national highways. 70% of highways are only 2 lanes. Roads are congested, maintenance is underfunded, and 40% of roads are dirt roads, and 30% of villages has no access to all-weather roads. So, because of these concerns, there comes a 3 main issues. 1. High cost. Poor quality of Indian infrastructure roads also led to the high cost for the businesses and consumers. For example, businesses had to spend more money on the transport and logistic, and consumer has to pay higher prices for the goods and services. 2. Congested roads and delays. Indian roads, railways, ports and airports were simply not able to handle the country's growth population and economy.
And these congested roads.
It made it difficult and time consuming for the businesses to transport the goods to the peoples. 3. Lack of integration. Different modes of transport in India were not well integrated, and this making difficult and time consuming to travel from one place to another place. Now you might be wondering that if these problems are already exist, then it can become a big hurdle for Indian governments and business projects like Make in India, which aims to improve nation's manufacturing capability. And if these kinds of projects continue to fail, then it can again become a problem in India's vision of 2047 of becoming a $40 trillion economy. Now the question is, all the amount that Indian government is investing in infrastructure projects, will that be beneficial or will there be any return on it? Well, the answer relies in 2 points. 1. These ongoing infrastructure developments will help in countries' integration with global market and low-cost connectivity, which will ultimately improve business productivity and production by reducing manufacturing cost and transportation cost. 2. Studies by Reserve Bank of India and the National Institute of Public Finance and Policy estimate that we get the benefit by 2.5 to 3.5 rupees on every single rupee spent on infrastructure development. And if you have seen our rupee-ruble trading explaining video, then you must have remembered that Indian government has offered Russia to invest in infrastructure projects to utilize the rupees stuck in the Russian bank due to Indian-Russian bilateral trade deficit, so that stuck rupee can be used. And if you didn't watch that video and want to get the detailed information about Indian-Russian bilateral trade, then you can watch that video by click on this I icon button. Coming back to the topic, where advanced economies are facing threat to their growth pace, India has already raised the effort by announcing its budget for 2023 and 24 that we will spend 10 lakh crore rupees, which is 3.3% of our GDP, on infrastructure. It is further boosted by its 1.3 crore worth of loans to the state government for the infrastructure initiative. India has already made significant progress toward building national highways that connect all the points for travelers, commerce and cargoes. By building highways together with other projects is expected to cost rupees 2.81 lakh crore in 2023 and 24. That is the increase of 33% over previous year. And along the 7,500 kilometer coastline, there are 12 major ports and more than 200 minor ports. And currently under construction, Vardhan port in Maharashtra would be 13 major port in India. And that is not all. There are many ambitious projects run by the government of India, such as a railway line to the high altitude area in Ladakh, railroad tunnel under Brahmaputra river, the bullet train project connecting Mumbai and Ahmedabad, the Arunachal front line highway, and Mumbai Trans Harbour Link Bridge. Additionally, there are various other projects as well. That includes hydroelectric dams, high-speed trains, power projects, river navigation initiatives, solar power hubs, and metro rail projects are all under the construction. That will make our country's infrastructure more better and better. And by building the sustainable and modern infrastructure, Indian government is planning to bring down the cost of logistics in economy from estimate of 40% to the 10% by adopting advanced mobility technologies, mainly to improve country's competitive edge in global manufacturing and trade, and for the greater role in supply chains. And the initiative like Sagarmala projects will prioritize lowering logistic cost on trade by connecting the number of ports along the coastline with a little in a way of infrastructure investment. And to ensure that there will be no hurdle in these infrastructure development projects and progress will not take the backseat, the central government has launched the Gati Shakti program, all the major mobility infrastructure project of various ministries and state government under one umbrella, such as Bharatmala for roads and railways, Sagarmala for ports, inland waterways, dry or land ports, और उड़े देश का आम नागरिक UDAN, और regional airport enabling air travel, access to a common.
But let's start with Nitin Gadkari. I have to tell you that one of the most positive, in-your-face manifestations of the India story and the potential of India is what's been happening on India's roads, especially the highways and now the expressways.
And as per the report and statement by Union Road Transport and Highway Minister Nitin Gadkari, the total length of national highways was 91,000 km in 2013 and 14, which increased to 1,45,000 km in 2020, 22 and 23. Which raised by more than 59% during this period. And the increase in 4-lane national highway rose about 2 times. In 2013 and 14, the length of 4-lane was 18,000 km, which increased to 44 km in last 9 years. And till now, 2023, India has raised the total of 144 tunnel projects with a length of 357 km, costing 2 lakh crore that are underway on national highways. And these tunnel projects help to reduce the distance between different points drastically, which eventually help to reduce the time while traveling from one place to another place. And as a result, not only we reduce the time from one place to another place, but also waiting time of toll plaza has been reduced. In 2014, the average waiting time at toll plaza was 734 seconds, whereas in 2023, this has reduced to 47 seconds. And we are consistently working to bring down to 30 seconds soon. With the help of these development infrastructure projects, the NHIA, National Highway Authority of India, achieved the 7 world record that's showing their commitment to technological advancement and their ambition to position India as the second largest road network in India after US.